session with you guys. Um, Currently in Kigali, here in Rwanda, where I'm based. I recently moved here because of my new posting in my line of work. But just to get the ball rolling, I'm happy once again to be with you guys and looking at my career journey. It's been an interesting one. I started off as a ICT guy where I used to do tech stuff when I was in my early days, where I had the chance to just get a better appreciation of what software stuff is. When you look at hardware, I used to be based at the Center for Disease Control that was in Kisumu. And while I was in Kisumu, I developed a passion for photography. And my father bought me a camera. And this was the beginning of my media industry career because I loved taking photos. And when I was in university at Moy University in Eldoret, I was literally using the camera to take photos. Then I would get some extra coins here and there to help me make ends meet while I was in university. So I had a brief stint with photography work, and I appreciate the photography professions. And it's an area that I see enormous potential for Kenya as a country. It's one of the under-tapped sectors. Well, after my stint at the university, I joined mainstream media. I got an opportunity to work for Nation Media, where I was able to kick off my career there as a business journalist. I used to write for the newspaper, which was then the East African newspaper. I also used to write for Daily Nation. And that's where I honed my skills. While I was there, I was basically on attachment. After clearing my attachment, going back to school, Nation had a program which they called the Media Lab program, which goes to universities and takes trainee journalists, where they pick you in, you apply, you go through a rigorous vetting exercise. So vetting didn't begin the other day, it began kitambo. And it was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
I ended up out of 10,000 of us, we made it to the final shortlists. We were about 50 from across all universities in Kenya. And eventually I was able to make it to the final cut, where I now joined the Nation Media Lab program, a 9 months program where we got to learn a lot more about newsroom operations. We got to appreciate the different facets that come with the media career. So while at Nation, that's where I would say my career went on a springboard. From Nation, I crossed over to Standard, and now I'm at CNBC Africa, and it's a place where it's awesome, I can tell you. That's my career journey in summary.
Actually, I'd like to congratulate you for your new role. You've been an inspiration to very many people. Many people have been watching you in their households, and I am really glad that you're taking initiative to work with the youth. So there's something you mentioned. You bought a camera. You bought a camera, yeah, and you said you wanted to make a few coins in it. Is that how your photography career started, or how did it really take place? Because you're an entrepreneur before even you joined the new things.
Very true. Yes, I was an entrepreneur before I joined even the newsroom. I used to do all kinds of side hustles to just keep myself busy and make extra buck here and there. So having a camera while in university was an eye opener. I realized it's an area that I could get better skills at and improve the what I would say the end product. So I used to do a lot of photography across when we had events in campus. When I was home on holiday, I would also take photos at weddings, sometimes at funerals. And remember those days were the Kodak moments. We hadn't
Yes,
gone
yes, yes.
digital yet. So you had a film and you would take it to the studios and it
Studio.
would be developed. Then you would get the photos which you could now sell. And at that time, we could sell a photo for as high as 150 shillings per photo. And it would get me some income here and there. I didn't do it for long because I was also juggling between studying and this business on the side. So eventually, I ended up not being so active on that front. School stuff took a better part of me, and eventually, I ended up into broadcast journalism, where we now got deep into matters to do with TV reporting and news presentation. And eventually, I now had to get into the thick of things, which was now at the heart of journalism, which is what I presently do. But at the same time, I work very closely with friends I had who are photographers, and I still keep a close network of them.
So actually, you mentioned something. You're very exposed, especially when it comes to photographers. And I'm glad your circle of friends revolve around the photographers. So tell us more about how critical they are in enhancing your role. As now you're a senior news anchor, but over the years, they've played definitely a critical role in. Role in enhancing what you're doing currently. So what do you think is the importance of the photographers and videographers?
Well, I would say these are the men and women who take a very important role in society because they document history. And by documenting history, it means that you are at the forefront of making impact photos. There always this saying that says, a picture can tell 1,000 words in it. And if you look at the current role photographers are playing, both in mainstream media and also in private media, it's quite a Herculean task when you look at what we get to put out there. As a country, we are quite advanced. We have the highest experienced photographers, I would say, in the region. And this has put us on the global map. When you look at photos that are used, say, in BBC or Reuters, AFP, we have very talented photographers who have been able to make a mark, not only in East Africa, but across the globe. So they are literally at the heartbeat of telling Africa's story. And this has really helped us change the landscape. When you look at the work we do, there's a photographer, a good friend of mine, Emmanuel Jal, who is from Senegal. And he's based in Kenya, and he does an amazing work. And the list can go on and on of just photographers who have not only left an indelible mark in history, such as Boniface Mwangi, when he captured photos that really showcased what happened in Kenya during the post-election violence. So photographers are storytellers through the lens. And it's a very noble task that one must use their skills and their talent to be able to make an impact in their society.
Wow, that is quite interesting. Now, we've discussed about, actually, our topic of the day is entrepreneurship in the creative industry. So that means that we want to go deeper into how it influences the creative industry, how the entrepreneurship influences it. And you've told me a story about you being a journalist up to the time that you are a news anchor at a very honorable institution right now. So can you kindly take a few minutes to take us through your entrepreneurship journey, especially as a news anchor and your interactions with the photographers and videographers?
So in my day-to-day work as a journalist, when we get to attend events, when we are covering interviews, we must always remember the fact that journalism is a team effort, and it all starts from the person who takes you to the event, that is a driver, to the photographer, to the videographer. All these are very important people around you because they can make you shine or they can also make you not shine. So when you look at the journey around entrepreneurship, one must always remember that you need to be attached somewhere to get experience. I see many young people thinking photography is something you can just buy a camera and start tomorrow, but it doesn't hurt to have someone to hold your hand, someone to help you maneuver your way around the sector. And if you're able to put in time and effort, you get to have a strong foundation when it comes to setting off your career journey. So one of the tips I would share is get into an association, for example, of photographers, which can be something that you can draw inspiration from. You can, of course, benchmark with the best. And when you're in a network of professionals, it increases your chances of getting even more and more opportunities to tell your work, to show your work. This is one of the aspects people look down upon, but it's something you should consider taking up. Join the professional groups if possible. They could be on WhatsApp, they could be through a website, they could be something that is physical that you attend maybe every month. They help in building your network. At the same time, it helps building your resources because you may be somewhere and things can happen. You've gotten a job to do, let's say, an event and a launch, and you are somewhere and your lens just stops working or your batteries are over, you know, who can you quickly call to come to your rescue? If you operate as an individual and if you operate as an island, you end up not being able to maneuver your way when it comes to turning things around. So one must always be cognizant of the fact that no man is an island, and you thrive when you're in a network of professionals. Of course, the other thing is investing in the right equipment. If you're able to invest in the right equipment, this also gives you leverage because you look at clients that are of different tastes. Some of the clients might be having sophisticated photo shoots. And as an entrepreneur, you are literally marketing your work as you do it. It tells a lot when you come for a shoot, the size of the camera you have, the types of lenses you have, the lighting setup you have. This speaks a lot to the other side of the consumer. They look at you as, are you professional? Do you have equipment? And it doesn't hurt to hire when you don't have all the needed equipment. So this also goes down to how are you able to do what we call business development? Do you have a business development plan? Do you just want to be that freelancer, or do you want to grow eventually and have a team and have an entire photo studio to yourself? So you must have targets and set goals, because if you are started off as a freelance photographer, 5 years down the line, what would you want to become? Would you want to be bagging the biggest photo shoots in town? You must position yourself strategically, because if you don't do that, then you end up marking time and just doing the same thing over and over. And growth is important, because if you don't grow, you stagnate. Stagnation is the worst thing that you'd want to happen in a very vibrant career such as photography. So you must be at the forefront of learning new things and investing in the best equipment. At the same time, setting your goals. Say, for example, you are an aspiring photographer, what are some of the quick things you need to do? You need to know the art of photography as a basic. You need to know the science behind it. And you also now need to get into the next level where you buy your own equipment. There are very nice opportunities out here where I'm seeing different shops even have payment plans where you can pay in installments, you know, depending on what you are looking to buy in the market. And
actually, Aby, sorry to interject. First of all, I'd request if you can put your video on.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Then there's, as you do that, I like the fact that you brought out a way in which photographers can market their businesses. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because that is the first, that's the next question that I wanted you to jump into. And I really like how you brought it out. You have to have an end goal to it. So I'll give a practical example. I am a photographer and I want to get in new clients. So how do I do that as a starter? Because I'm sure you had already started as a photographer. And how did you get your first client? And probably that could help the next photographer that has just started.
So that's a great question. When you look at the work of a photographer, you're basically an artist. You express yourself through your work. So I remember my first client, it was all about how I had done the printouts and mounted them. When someone comes to see the work, they don't need more explanations. So use opportunities to exhibit your work to be able to open doors for you. And of course, during my time, social media was not so developed like what it is today. Those
True.
days, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have WhatsApp. Nowadays, there are so many tools that you can use to market yourself and have a rate card, for example. What is your rate card? Most business entrepreneurs rarely have a breakdown of how much they charge. And that's a big mistake for any aspiring entrepreneur. You need to know what are the industry rates. The same way today, if you wanted to hire lights or you wanted to hire a lens, there's a certain rate. So you need to do a market research, price yourself so that when you are asked how much would you charge, you top of mind, you can say, I have my rate card. And a rate card basically is a breakdown of how much you charge per item. This can be classified in, if it's a family shoot, this is how much I charge. If it's a passport shoot, this is how much I charge. If it's a wedding, this is how much I charge. It helps in making you appear to be professional. And at the same time, it protects you from being shortchanged. Because people look down upon entrepreneurs who do not seem to have a plan or do not have a vision. So someone will say, I have a photo shoot. Can you do this shoot with 5K? Then you tell them, no, 5K is so low. Then they ask you, why isn't 5K affordable for you? Do you have any justification? You know, it is a hard task to express why you are charging 5K. Because it's a creative industry. It is an industry that requires intellectualism. It requires skill and creativity, which it's very hard to quantify. But by doing research, you get to know what are the market rates, and it helps you to structure yourself and to put out your rate card.
Actually, I've come across photographers who compromise their rate cards. So what do you think about the compromising part of it? Is it part of them being an entrepreneur because they want to reach out to as many people as possible, or should they maintain their rate cards? So what is your take on the same?
I think someone must be flexible. It depends with what you're targeting. It's very easy to be influenced to reduce your rates, but it's another thing to stick your ground. Sometimes people are under pressure. Maybe you're desperate financially. Someone is saying, hii kazi kuna hata watu watano wengine walikuwa wamenipea budget yako is the highest. But if you know you're offering value, if you know you're offering great execution, I believe in kizuri cha jiuza.
Yeah, true.
Where by this I mean sometimes by sticking your ground, it may see you lose business until you get to a point you're like, I lost that biashara to so and so. They paid them maybe half of what I was asking. There are situations that will come to you as a business entrepreneur because you're trying to create value. By creating value, sometimes you have to sacrifice and let go of some of these opportunities. And that's how you also earn respect. I've been in occasions where I do a lot of moderations. I've been in occasions where I've been asked for my rate card and someone says, hey, you're too expensive. Then I say, it's fine. That's my rate. They look around, they shop around, then if they really believe and want value, they'll come back to you. So sometimes there's no hard feelings. It's good to once in a while let go of some of these opportunities. Why? You are strengthening yourself and you're raising the bar. And this has to be done strategically. It cannot be that it's your first job and you're over 40. You first must be known, people must know your work. And for them to know your work, at least you should be having a market strategy where you're saying, for example, in the first year of my business, all photography work
Hi, Aby, can you hear me?
so that you capture the economic realities, so that you don't just do lip service. You're able to do work and you're paid an equivalent value of what you've done.
So sometimes it's not that just the passion. You should be also aim for getting you also have to get money, yeah, as long as it's still a passion. And what advice would you give someone who has already gotten clients? You know, getting clients is not as hard as many people will think, but then retaining clients at times, you'll get that you've gotten 100 clients in probably a week or something, but then what's the strategy to use to retain those clients?
So they say that happy clients is the best asset to an organization. And keeping clients happy is not easy because Kenyans are peculiar. I remember the former CEO of Safaricom, Bob Collymore, once said that Kenyans have peculiar habits. One moment they like your work, another moment they are criticizing it. And why
Just
are they
like
criticizing?
the music.
Yeah, you might find you just handled a client wrongly and you rub them the wrong way. So one must, of course, have a client retention strategy. By this, it's basically doing customer service. For example, having an opportunity where maybe every Father's Day you can say you're doing a discounted rates, or Mother's Day, or Valentine's Day, those special days can be clever and come up with a nice way of appreciating your clients, you know, saying
Having discount
the
and stuff.
first, yeah, having a chance to just help them also feel you are not just draining from them, but you also care. I
Yeah.
think the other thing is to get regular feedback. It helps to help you reorganize your business. This is an opportunity where you just take reflection of clients' expectations as well as client needs. By this I mean engaging them on simple things like what do you think about my photo shoots? How can we make them better? Sometimes you think you know it all, but it's always good to hear from the consumers. So be flexible to when you also make mistakes, you should also own up. You could have taken some shoots and maybe you took time to convert the pictures to be ready in time. The client maybe was unhappy, or you might have missed an important shot. Let's say it's a wedding when the bride was feeding the groom the cake.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that should also be a wake-up call to you so that you are alert. You're alert all the time. So those are just top of my mind experiences I'd like to share.
Thank you for that. And we've seen that actually, I like the fact of that you brought out. I always speak about customer care almost every time, and it's good that it applies also in the creative industry, which is a very important point that you brought out. So, being in the creative industry is sometimes it has a lot of risks. So, probably what would you share, or what sentiments would you share with creatives who are just starting? Of course, there's the risk part of it. So how do they deal with the challenges that are encountered in the creative industry?
I'll attempt to answer that question, and I'll also like to get to hear from the other participants in the forum because I want it to be also interactive. When I would say some of the challenges in the creative industry, of course, is we are literally structuring the sector. It still doesn't have proper structures. I mean, it can do better. And with that being said, it also means that sometimes people can get raw deals. Raw deals, by this I mean, you may be contracted by a big firm to do something, and you are outsourced. And some of the things that people forget is it's important to have contracts, things that are formalized, especially when dealing with big corporates. It helps, and it's always good to demand for what you feel is your right. And why I always say it's good to be part of a larger community is you get to be shown how things ought to be done. If you land a big contract, say to film a big event, let's say it's Mashujaa Day, you've been contracted by word of mouth. That's something that you should avoid. Those are some of the challenges that I can say they're there. And of course, the other challenge is archival of content from what creatives do. Some people end up deleting pictures, and probably you send them to the clients and they didn't get them on time, or they forgot to download on time. On your end, you already deleted them. Then you end up in a very nasty situation. So guys must invest in archival resources like hard disks, so that you constantly are able to trace your work, and it has to be safe so that when something comes up, you're quickly able to retrieve it. That's
So
my quick
I'm
thoughts around
actually,
that.
I'm interested in what you've just mentioned. So as we continue, if you have any questions for Aby Agina, this is the time to ask him the questions that you have. And also, if you have more sentiments on the same, on what we're discussing about, do feel free to do that on the chat section, and we will address that before we finish this. And Aby, just to continue, we have seen that there's a lot that happens, especially in the photography, videography scenes, especially when a photographer is now interested in doing wedding events, is interested in doing portraits, engaging in many specialties at the same time in the name of passion. So do you think as a photographer, I should narrow down to get the best, or should I just do anything that comes my way?
Yeah, actually, very timely question. You must remember I talked about one having a business plan. It helps you to design your business, and the business plan basically is putting your thoughts together on your vision for your business. It's not bad to do mounting, it's not bad to do side shoots and all those kinds of things. What you must remember is diversification is good, but at the same time, it has to be well structured, or else you might overwhelm yourself. And to diversify means you have gotten to a point you want to offer more than you are known to offer. And that's where it now boils down to, how do you partner with other people? Maybe you have a friend who is good at doing mounting stuff. You could be contracting that person to do it, but it can be under your company. So it's how you are able to reach out to that person and you get into a partnership. Because sometimes we invest in doing other related stuff and it kills the main business. So you must be flexible and be alive to the reality that if you have the capital and you are able to handle all the aspects that you want to do, fair enough. But if you're starting off, clients that like your photos, they start asking, where can I get this? Where can I get this? It doesn't hurt to create a pipeline of service providers around you who can help you in future to even marry them into your business so that you become one and the same. Or it also gives you an exposure so that that time when it comes, you're also able to have the know-how and you're able to take off and have a great experience as you serve your clients.
That is well noted, and we see that right now. Currently, the government has encouraged entrepreneurship knowledge in schools. Yeah. So, do you think it's a leeway for photographers to learn more on entrepreneurship? Because I think that this is the Kenyan government. I think they launched it either last year. I'm not too sure. But do you think it's a good thing that the government has initiated entrepreneurial knowledge, especially in schools, because it has to start early? So probably your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, I believe people should move away from doing a business as a side hustle. Let it be your main hustle. I see many Kenyans saying, ni kujaribu tu, natafuta tu ya kando. You know, that's a wrong mentality. If you get in to do something, get in with your full heart, give your all. that is now where you stand out from the rest. So to me, an entrepreneur is someone who solves a problem. You must be solving a problem. If your business is not solving a problem, then it means your business might not be sustainable. So you need to be curing a society need. And this is the epitome of entrepreneurship, where you are working towards meeting a need in society. So entrepreneurship is very important, where people are getting to learn the basics. Business administration, what does it entail? Keeping your bookkeeping is very important. Records, taxes, where you need to pay taxes. All this helps you in your journey when it comes to, are you documenting your transactions, or are you just operating in a Kenyeji way? It will come all down to how strong did you set your foundation. I think with that, I'm sure we are coming to the tail end.
Yes.
I'd like now to throw it back to you to allow for a question or two, because I may have to earlier than I thought.
No problem, Aby. So we have Anne saying, thank you, Aby and PICHA Images. Really enjoying the talk. Some quick questions. First of all, is what resources should I invest in as a creative entrepreneur, that is as a photographer?
Can we take maybe two more?
Yeah, sure. The second one is how is communication important in the customer retention, sorry. And finally, what is the biggest mistake you've made as an entrepreneur? And what lessons did you take from it? So we can answer those three because of time.
Okay. So the first thing, there's a question there from Anne. Thanks for your comment. And for you to kick it off as an entrepreneur, as a photographer, of course, some of the things you need, basics, you need a laptop, you need a camera to start with. Before, of course, you have these resources, I want to believe that you have perhaps invested in taking classes. And the beauty is nowadays we have tier 1 institutions, tier 2, tier 3. It depends with where you can afford. The question on communication, I think we tackled it earlier on when I was explaining how to retain your clients. Then there's this question on what is the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur from Okini. So the biggest mistake I can remember is where we were doing a photo shoot back in the day when we still had films, and I didn't store the film well, and all the pictures got destroyed, and had already been paid, and I had to convince the client that we have to redo the shoot.
Wow.
So
quite interesting.
It was a big challenge, and we were able to, in a diplomatic way, handle it, and the client was happy eventually. So the biggest lesson is always make sure that you have all your stuff together, from equipment before the shoot, on the shoot, make sure everything is, you have a checklist. If it's batteries, if it's the lens, if it's I mean, getting to the venue on time. Just have your own checklist so that you avoid getting into a situation where it can be irreversible sometimes. So as an entrepreneur, you'll still make more mistakes, and feel free to learn from the mistakes. The worst part is if you keep making mistakes and you're not learning. But mistakes are bound to happen. You just get a way to get back on your feet and keep your eye on the prize, because challenges will come. There will be headwinds right, left, and center, but you must rise above the waves.
So thank you so much. I see we have more questions, but then we'll just cut it short at this point. So this is to thank you once again, Aby Agina, for taking us through entrepreneurship in the creative industry. Most people start as it starts as a passion, but over time, how does a photographer make money? You know, and I like the fact that you've highlighted all those things that should be put in place. So I know we have a lot of questions regarding the same, and they will be answered by Aby, because good thing right now we're in an era where Aby is on social media. We are not going kienyeji way. So you can find Aby. You can find Aby on LinkedIn as Aby Agina, on Instagram as Aby Agina, Facebook Aby Agina. And also for those people who are joining us, you can follow PICHA Images on Instagram, PICHA Images on Facebook, PICHA Images on YouTube, and make sure you like and subscribe into our channel. So thank you so much, Aby. We really appreciate for your time, and we look forward to getting more insight on this. So asanteni sana.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I wish everyone the very best. I look forward to one day featuring some of you guys on our platforms. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
That's good news. Thank you.
Okay.